Welcome back to an episode of Message and Call. Today we are going to talk about one of the principles in the Agile Manifesto's 12 principles. Now, this is one of those where whenever I talk about it, I hear certain responses. Now, this principles is the one that talks about face-to-face is the most efficient and effective way of communication to and from the development team. So oftentimes I get the following response. One, we can't do that here. Two, well, it's 2020. The principles was drafted back in 2001, so it's obsolete. So how do you deal with those two answers? I get those responses. Mainly it's because of this. One, from the individual, from the employee standpoint, who doesn't like working from home? I like working from the offices. That's just me. I like to be around people, but sometimes I do get to work from home, and that's really nice. I don't have to fight to traffic, and some of you may have a traffic hell that you got to go through for a couple of hours. You reduce that headache, reduce the stress, reduce pollution, and you get to work for any company you want. You're not limited to the company between your local or nearby vicinity. For the business, the upside is that you reduce costs for physical space. You get to attract talent from anywhere you want to, and you get to potentially have what we call cheaper resources. Now, the term cheaper resources, and I've talked about not liking the word resources. So you get access to all these things, so all these benefits of allowing what we call distributed form of working. So it may be remote working, for example. You got teams distributed and things like that. Okay, so how do you communicate then if you are not all together? Emails, instant messaging, phone. Okay, let's talk about the problem that I see with all those mediums and all those tools that we use to help us communicate when we are not all together. Right? When you're co-located, it's real simple. I can turn around, I can take, hey Joe, I can just specifically go tap on the shoulder and can talk to them and I get the feedback I want. But if you're not face to face, if you're not within reach of that person, what do you do? So emails, right? Well, how effective is email? How often has it been misinterpreted? Think about it, right? Just pure written emails. Not the best form of communication tools that's out there. We all know it. How many times we ignore emails? When do we get to emails? What's the delay for us in replying to those emails? Sometimes we just tend to ignore it, right? Okay, instant messaging. All right, it's great. I can instantly type and message somebody, right? Chat. Online tools that gives us a way to communicate directly with the person. Well, if the person is not available, if the person is focusing on doing something, think about things that pop up. Boom, that message will pop up. Says, you have a message, for example, right? And then you have to constantly monitor the thread that goes on. How effective is that? You're probably not focusing on your work really well. And also, it's hard to go through and read through everything if you try to look for, a historical way of things. So you may miss certain conversation. And you may be focusing so you miss conversation altogether. Compared to when you're face to face, compared to if you're all within the same room, our brain works in such a way that, oftentimes I may not be in those conversations, but when I hear certain keywords, it perks my interest. I'm like, oh, well, somebody says certain things. Maybe I should get in those conversations. And not only that, facial expression. You don't see those expressions, right? Again, instant messaging is very similar to emails. WebEx, tools for online meeting, for example. Okay, what's wrong with that? Well, if you are just on audio, if you're on the phone, do you see the expression? What happens when it goes silent on the other side? Do you know what's going on? Are they confused? Did they just get disconnected? What happened? Is that person asleep? You don't know. Do you know if I'm focusing or not? You don't know. You don't hear anything from me, right? On the receiving end, you don't hear anything. So you don't have that feedback. Here's an exercise you can try with your teams. I'll provide the information on the link so you can get from it. I'll put it on my blog and I have a link to it in the description below. Try it out. I would love to see what your outcome is. So what is the solution to this then? If we're saying that face-to-face is still the most efficient and effective way of communication, but if we cannot be in the same room, what do we do? Do you guys remember this movie, Surrogate, starring Bruce Willis, where you got the world in such that it's advanced, where individuals you can basically be at home, but yet be outside. So you have this clone walking around the world, and you're at home controlling. Well, we're not there yet. How about holograms? Remember the scenes that we see in Star Wars? Where the hologram, we can see the facial, we can see the body language. Do we have that today? Not quite. So what's the solution? Well, cameras, video. Turn on your camera that's connected to your laptop. Buy a webcam. Here's one that I use. For those that are afraid of your cameras being hacked, what do you have today? You have a blue tip on there like this one. Well, here's something you can do. Go buy a webcam cover. Here's one from Amazon that I use. It's very, very cheap. Buy them, put it on. When you're not using the video, slide the lid, close it up. If you're not using the webcam, disconnect the webcam. Just the additional visual that we see allow us to communicate much more. We now see what's going on. You can see the person's facial expression. You can see when there's something wrong. We can even know when there is person's not concentrating. They may be just looking at their phone. They're not focusing. Or something's happening. They're not responding to it. We get that visual cue. It still is not 100% close to being face-to-face, but it gets us much closer. Additionally, there are online tools such as a virtual whiteboard. Now think about when you're working together, when you're face-to-face in person. You can just go up to a whiteboard and you can draw and sketch your ideas. You can collaborate on that. You can do that too. Go look at Miro.com, Miro.com. That's a virtual whiteboard. I love using that tool. They don't pay me to talk about how great the tool is. I love using it. That's why I'm promoting it. Try that out. There is a free version for it, and there's also an enterprise version for it. Supplement with those tools. So between videos, audios, and you get this effect of being more effective, more efficient than without those things. Now, you're still not as efficient as being face-to-face. So drop it. That is it. When you're face-to-face, ultimately, that is the best. So if you can do that, always do that. The fact that we can work remotely, the fact that we can be distributed, the fact that we have technology that allow us to be disconnected, it does not mean that face-to-face is not the most efficient and most effective ways of communication. It's just that we choose to go a different route. Hope this helps. Bye.